Okay, so you want to own a laundromat. No employees to manage, no perishable inventory, no customers to charm. Just a room full of machines that turn quarters into money while you sleep. That's the pitch you've seen 100 times on social media. Buy a laundromat, put in 10 hours a month checking on it, and collect $50,000 a year in truly passive income. It sounds like the cleanest business model in America. Machines don't call in sick. Machines don't need health insurance. Machines don't quit. Here's the problem. You are not actually in the laundry business. You are in the utility business. And nobody tells you that until you already own the building. A laundromat looks simple from the sidewalk. Rows of washers, rows of dryers, a change machine, maybe a vending machine for detergent. What you don't see is that every single one of those washers is a small industrial appliance pulling hot water, cold water, electricity, and in most cases, natural gas. All at once, dozens of times a day, every day of the year. The laundromat isn't selling you clean clothes. It's reselling you water, gas, and electricity at an enormous markup, wrapped inside a 15-minute wash cycle. And the moment you understand that distinction, the entire financial picture of this business starts to make sense, including why so many of them quietly fail. Let's start with the fact that laundromat is not one business. It's several wearing the same storefront. At the low end, you have the traditional coin-op model, machines that take quarters. No staff, no software, minimal overhead beyond the building itself. These are the oldest style, and they're increasingly rare in cities because they require someone to physically empty coin boxes on a schedule, which is its own security problem we'll get to. Above that sits the card and app-based laundromat, where customers load money onto a prepaid card or pay through a phone app. This model costs more to install because you're paying for a payment network and machine connectivity, but it removes cash handling almost entirely, which matters more than it sounds like it should. Above that, the wash-on-fold hybrid laundromat that also offers a drop-off service where staff wash, dry, and fold customer laundry for a per-pound fee. This adds real labor costs and real liability, since now you're responsible for someone's actual clothes. But it also roughly doubles or triples revenue per square foot compared to pure self-service. Then there's the Laundromat's real estate play, where an investor buys the building specifically because the ground floor, commercial space is unusually well suited to plumbing and electrical infrastructure, and the laundromat itself is almost a secondary consideration to the appreciating asset underneath it. And finally, the franchise model. Branded chains that provide standardized equipment, marketing support, and operating systems in exchange for an upfront fee and an ongoing percentage of revenue. Usually somewhere in the range of 4 to 8% of gross sales, plus a smaller contribution to a shared marketing fund. Each of these is a genuinely different bet on the same underlying question. Are you selling wash cycles, or are you selling square footage and infrastructure that happens to have machines in it? Now, what does it actually cost to open the doors? A single coin-op washer runs anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000 depending on capacity. With commercial-grade dryers running $1,500 to $8,000 each, a modest laundromat needs 20 to 40 machines total to function, which puts equipment alone somewhere between $80,000 and $300,000 before you've signed a lease. And the equipment is the easy part. The building is where the real money disappears. Commercial laundry requires plumbing capable of delivering enormous volumes of hot and cold water, simultaneously to dozens of machines, which almost always means upgrading the water main and running new supply lines. A job that can cost $20,000 to $80,000 depending on the age of the building. Electrical service needs a serious upgrade too, since a room full of large motors and heating elements draws far more power than a standard retail space was ever wired for. Budget another $15,000 to $60,000 there. And if your dryers run on gas rather than electricity, which most commercial dryers do because gas heats faster and costs less per cycle, you need a gas line upgrade and proper venting for every single dryer. Pushing exhaust safely outside the building, that's another $10,000 to $30,000. Plus ongoing inspection requirements most new owners don't budget for at all. Then there's the water heater. And this is the piece almost every first-time buyer underestimates completely. A handful of residential water heaters cannot come close to supplying 30 washers running hot cycles simultaneously. You need a commercial-grade water heating system. Often multiple large tank units or a tankless commercial array, sized specifically for peak simultaneous demand. That system alone can run $15,000 to $40,000 installed, and it's one of the most failure-prone pieces of equipment in the entire building, because it runs closer to constant load than almost any other water heater in commercial use. Add flooring that can handle constant water exposure, ventilation to manage humidity so the ceiling doesn't grow mold within a year, security cameras, lighting, signage, and a cash reserve to survive the slow months. And a modest laundromat build-out lands somewhere between $200,000 and $700,000 before a single quarter has dropped into a machine. On the franchise side, add the franchise fee itself, typically $15,000 to $50,000 depending on the brand, on top of everything above. In exchange for standardized equipment vendors, a proven layout, and marketing support you'd otherwise have to build from nothing, here's where the naive mental model really breaks down. People assume the ongoing cost of a laundromat is basically rent and the occasional repair. It isn't. The ongoing cost is a utility bill that scales directly with how successful you are. A single wash cycle uses somewhere between 20 and 40 gallons of water. A single dry cycle, especially on a gas dryer running for 45 minutes, burns real fuel and real electricity to run the drum motor and blower. Multiply that by dozens of machines running back-to-back all day, every day. And a busy laundromat can use as much water and gas as a small apartment building. Water and sewer rates have been climbing steadily across most major American cities for years, in some regions by double-digit percentages annually. And unlike a restaurant that can quietly shrink portion sizes to manage rising food costs, a laundromat can't secretly use less water in a wash cycle. The machine either fills to the level it's engineered for, or it doesn't clean the clothes, and customers notice immediately. This is the trap. Your single largest operating cost is set by a municipal utility company that you have zero control over, that can raise rates whenever it wants. And you cannot pass that cost increase onto customers instantly, because vend prices at a laundromat are famously sticky. Raise the price of a wash cycle by 50 cents, and you risk sending your regulars 2 blocks away to a competitor, which brings us to the real revenue mechanism. The thing that actually explains how this business survives at all. A laundromat is functionally a utility arbitrage operation. You are buying water, gas, and electricity at commercial rates, and reselling access to those utilities at a dramatic markup, delivered through a washing machine instead of a meter. A wash cycle that costs the owner somewhere between 50 cents and $1.20 in water, gas or electric, and machine wear gets sold to the customer for $3 to $5, depending on the market and machine size. A dry cycle that costs the owner maybe 40 to 70 cents in gas and electricity sells for another $3 to $5. Often billed in smaller increments to encourage customers to add more time than they strictly need. That gross margin, 60 to 70% per cycle, is genuinely excellent on paper. It's why the passive income reputation exists in the first place. The problem is that margin only holds if the machines are actually running. An idle washer costs you almost nothing in utilities, but it also earns you nothing, while the rent, the loan payment, and the insurance premium keep accruing every single day whether anyone walks through the door or not. This is the opposite of the gym membership model, where an unused customer is the most profitable customer. In a laundromat, an unused machine is pure dead weight, and the entire business lives or dies on machine utilization rate, meaning what percentage of the day each washer and dryer is actually running a paid cycle. There's a structural risk sitting underneath all of this that most new owners never see coming until it's already hurting them. And that's the slow erosion of the customer base itself. New apartment construction across the country increasingly includes in-unit washer and dryer hookups as a standard amenity, something that was rare in older buildings, but has become close to expected in new development. Every new apartment complex built with in-unit laundry is a building full of former laundromat customers, who now never need to visit one again. This isn't a dramatic collapse. no single event, no headline. It's a slow demographic drain that happens neighborhood by neighborhood as older buildings get renovated or replaced. Laundromats that once thrived in a dense residential pocket can watch their customer base quietly shrink over a decade. It's not because they did anything wrong, but because the housing stock around them changed. On top of that, rising water rates in drought-affected states have squeezed margins hard enough that several regional laundromat operators have closed locations in recent years, specifically citing utility costs as the deciding factor. A very different failure story than a restaurant closing because the food was bad or a retail store closing because nobody wanted the product. The laundromat can be doing everything right and still get strangled by a rate increase at the water department. There's also the security and cash handling problem, which sounds minor until you actually run a pure coin-op location. A traditional quarter-based laundromat accumulates significant cash sitting inside coin boxes for days at a time. In a location that, by design, has no staff present for most of its operating hours. That combination, unattended and cash-heavy, makes laundromats a recurring target for break-ins and coin box theft and the damage from a forced entry. A smashed change machine, a pre-opened coin box, often costs more to repair than the cash that was actually stolen. This is a major reason the industry has shifted hard toward card and app-based payment systems over the last decade. Removing cash from the premises removes the primary reason someone breaks in after hours in the first place. But that shift comes with its own cost. Since card systems require ongoing software licensing fees and transaction processing fees that eat a small percentage off every single cycle sold, a cost a pure coin app location never has to pay. There's also equipment vandalism to consider and simple wear from the sheer volume of cycles a commercial machine runs. A residential washer might run a few hundred cycles a year. A commercial laundromat washer can run several thousand, which means bearings, seals, and belts fail on a schedule measured in months, not years. And most owners budget somewhere between 1% and 3% of gross revenue annually, just for machine repair and eventual replacement. Labor is a smaller line item than most businesses, but it's rarely actually zero. Even a pure self-service coin-op location typically needs someone stopping by daily or every other day to empty coin boxes, mop standing water, check that no machine is out of order, and restock detergent vending. That's often the owner themselves in the early years, which is where the passive income claim quietly breaks down into an unpaid part-time job. Scale up to a wash and fold hybrid location, and you need real staff. Attendance during operating hours, someone answering phones, someone actually washing and folding customer bags of laundry, which turns a chunk of the business into a genuine payroll operation with all the scheduling and liability issues that come with employing people. A very different business than the zero-employee fantasy the coin-op model advertises. So how does the math actually work out? Take a mid-sized laundromat with 30 washers and 30 dryers, at an average utilization rate of around 30% throughout the day, meaning machines are running paid cycles roughly a third of the time they're available, and an average combined wash and dry revenue of around $8 per customer visit. A location like this might process somewhere between 80 and 120 paid visits a day. That puts daily revenue in the range of $600 to $1,000, or roughly $18,000 to $30,000 a month. Against that, you're paying rent, typically $3,000 to $8,000 a month, depending on the market. Utilities that can run $4,000 to $10,000 a month for a location this size. Loan payments on your equipment and build-out financing, insurance, and a maintenance reserve. Since commercial washers and dryers run essentially non-stop and need regular bearing replacements, belt changes, and coin mechanism repairs. All told, fixed and variable operating costs for a location like this typically land somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000 a month. That leaves a genuinely wide range of outcomes. From a comfortable few $1,000s a month in profit at the high end of utilization, down to essentially breaking even or losing money if utilization dips. Even modestly below that 30% mark, and utilization is the variable almost nobody controls precisely, because it depends on foot traffic, on local competition, on whether a new apartment building down the street just added in unit hookups, and on utility rates that can shift the cost side of the equation without warning. This is why laundromat owners who actually do well tend to obsess over one number above all others: machine utilization by time of day, adjusting VEN pricing, running promotions during dead hours, and sometimes even physically relocating underperforming machines to busier locations within the same building. Treating every washer and dryer as an individual small business that either earns its floor space or gets replaced. Some experienced owners take this further and install remote monitoring software that tracks cycle counts and revenue per machine in real time, letting them spot a single underperforming dryer within days, rather than discovering months later, buried in a utility bill, that a third of the room has quietly gone cold. There's a financing wrinkle worth understanding too, because most laundromats aren't purchased with cash. They're bought as existing businesses using a combination of a small business administration loan and seller financing. When you buy an existing laundromat, rather than building one from scratch, you're paying a multiple of the location's annual cash flow, typically somewhere between 2.5 and 4 times seller's discretionary earnings, plus the value of the equipment itself, which means the purchase price is directly tied to how well the utilization number has been performing under the current owner. This is where new buyers get caught. A seller can inflate apparent profitability in the year before a sale by delaying maintenance, running machines past their normal service life, and skipping equipment replacement. Numbers that look great on paper until the new owner inherits a room full of machines that all need major repairs in the same 18-month window. Asterisk. Let's put together the two honest scenarios. In the good version, you've picked a dense residential neighborhood with a high concentration of older buildings that lack in-unit laundry. Kept your utility costs manageable because your city's water rates have stayed relatively stable. Financed the purchase reasonably rather than over-leveraging, and built a loyal base of regulars who visit multiple times a week. Under those conditions, a well-run mid-size laundromat can clear $30,000 to $60,000 a year in owner profit after debt service. Genuinely passive in the sense that daily presence isn't required, though weekly maintenance and cash or card system management still is. In the realistic version, water and sewer rates climb faster than you can raise VEN prices without losing customers to a competitor 2 blocks away. A new apartment development adds in-unit laundry to 300 units within your customer radius. 2 of your dryers need major repairs the same quarter a water heater fails, and the card payment processor raises its transaction fee. Under those conditions, that same laundromat can slide from a comfortable profit into essentially covering its own costs with nothing left over. Still fully open, still processing customers every day, machines still running, and the owner still quietly losing ground every single month it takes to notice. So if you do decide to buy a laundromat, remember the thing that actually determines whether you succeed. It was never really about how many machines you can fit in the room. It's about how tightly you can manage the utility bill sitting underneath every single wash cycle you sell.